Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, Sidi Marwan, and to all our viewers. Ramadan Mubarak, and inshallah, these last 10 days are fruitful for all of us. So, this week and for the next few weeks, we will be, inshallah, talking about the foundations of the Karkariya order for a more in-depth and expansive treatment of all the foundations, and with hadith, stories of Ahlullah, people can refer to the book, The Foundations of the Karkariya Order. This has been translated by Sidi Yusuf Casewit and Khalid Williams and Jamil Zagdoudi. And it treats all of the foundations, especially the specific terms that are used within the order, and treats them, the Arabic, the linguistic meanings, the historical definitions, and the usage within the Karkariya. So there are 7 foundations of the path, and inshallah we'll ask Sidi Marwan, what is a foundation of the path? What does it mean to be a foundation? And why is that important for suluk? But the 7 foundations are as follows. First is the bay'ah, or the ahad, the pact, the oath of allegiance. Second is the hadra. Third is the muraqqa. Fourth is the ism al-azam, ism jalal. Fifth is siyaha, or pious wandering, traveling. Sixth is the khalwa, the spiritual retreat. And 7th is the sir, the innermost secret. So inshallah, today we'll be talking about the muraqqa. What is it? Why is it necessary for the path? And what are some of the hadiths and Quran evidences for wearing it? So without further ado, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Sidi Marwan. If you can just begin with telling us what is a foundation of a path? Why is the muraqqa a foundation of the path? And where are the evidences for wearing one in the Quran and Sunnah? And especially, I think the one that's most interesting is, why is it so colorful? I mean, many of the muraqqas have, I think, at least 12, but upwards of different colors, 12 colors or more. So what is the meaning behind this? So inshallah.
السلام عليكم سيدي مبين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So inshallah, I will try to respond to all of your questions in very briefly and very simple language. Inshallah, we'll try to make it as easy as possible for everyone, so it's understood by all of our audience, inshallah. So the first question that you asked is, what's a foundation, right? So yeah, basically every sheikh, there is the tariq, there is the path. So every sheikh or the tariq has foundations for the suluk, for the path. And these foundations are renewed every 100 years, based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who says that every 100 years, every century, there is a mujaddid, a renewer of the faith that comes in and renew the faith of the ummah. So because the highest science and the highest knowledge of Islam is the knowledge of Allah, ma'rifah, tasawwuf, that is not about like the rulings, the ahkam of the sharia, of what is permissible, not permissible, and is the science that gives you access to knowing the Lord of the rulings, who is Allah Azza wa Jal. Then the renewer of the deen has to be a renewer of ilm al-tasawwuf. So this sheikh, who inherit through a continuous chain of transmission to the Prophet ﷺ, the sciences, the reality of the sciences of the Prophet ﷺ is able and is allowed and has the permission every century to when he comes at the what's called like ras qarn, like the tip, or like the beginning of the century, to renew the faith, the iman of the ummah. So and renewal is has to do first with the ways through which one navigate the path, both in the Shara'i perspective and in the esoteric perspective, or more like in the world of the unseen. So through the illumination and access to higher knowledge. What I mean with the Shara'i renewal is he gives you the means, practical means, a set of practices through which that you use as means, and through which you that you practice, sorry, and through which you can reach higher levels of ma'rifah. So the suluk, the path, is both a path of physical practices that are meant to diminish your ego and better off your character, and the fruit is the flow of light and knowledge from the reality of the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's called the kashf, or like unveiling, and what's called also like, not inspiration, I don't like the word inspiration, but it's more like experiential, hidden knowledge. So that's the idea of foundation. Foundations are a set of practices that a sheikh would bring every century, make them as foundations in the path, so that disciple can work on his or her ego to become a virtuous person, have a good character, and its fruit is ontological liberation, ontological transformation, and fana, annihilation in the essence of Allah Azza wa Jal, in the reality of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's the idea of foundation. It has been, it was the Tariqa Karkariya has new foundations, obviously, for the century, but it's in the continuation of the Tariqa Shadiliya. In the past century, it was Sidi Ahmed Al-Alawi who was the mujaddid of the usul, of the foundations of the Tariq. Before that, Mulay Al-Arabi Al-Tarqawi. Before that, it was the Sidi Abdurrahman Majdu. Before that, Zawi Fasiya. Before that, Sidi Ahmed Zarruq. And there was, in Tariqa Shadiliya, every century there was a renewal in the path, a renewal, a new direction, a new set of practices that are based from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which were suited for the time. So the idea that these have to be suited with the time and made for the disciples of that time, so that they can achieve and reach a true knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. Hopefully, I didn't make. Is everything clear? Is there any?
Yeah, I think I understand that. So first, it's necessary for the mujaddid to, because of the awareness of the specific type of issues that the ummah is facing at that time, he comes with the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about how to, breathe life into these traditions, tasawwuf, again. And many times they're building upon the foundations that have been set before, but also introducing some kind of nuance and a unique flavor in order to deal with the specific issues that disciples would face in this day and age. Especially because within hundreds of years or within some time, things begin to lose their effect and their emphasis. So it's important for the sheikh to do that. And this is two pronged. It's physical, but it's also like in the spiritual sciences as well. So I guess the second question is, so now what is the Muraqqa? Because this is one of the most visible aspects of the tariqah. I see some disciples behind you, wearing it. You yourself are wearing it. So it's many colors. You have to wear it all the time. What does the Sheikh say about wearing it? And also, what is the process that a disciple it goes to wearing it? Like, right, is it the disciple make it themselves? What is the significance of it? But first, let's start with, is it from Quran and Sunnah, right? Is this an Islamic dress?
All right. So, first of all, there is nothing haram in wearing Muraqqa. It covers your intimate part as a man or woman. So it's by consensus halal. Muraqqa. There might be a problem in wearing a jean. We're not saying it's haram, but
yeah,
there could be some debate around jeans. There could be some debates around like t-shirts. There could be some debate around many of the things that we see as normal today as Muslims even. But with the Muraqqa, there is no, or the patch cloak, there is a consensus that it's halal to wear it. Because it comes with the whole sunnah. It covers your head, it covers your intimate part, and it's loose, it's not tight, it's not a jean, it's not a pant. So it's like totally like with it is in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And
almost even more so because of the patches.
Yeah, but the patches are like part of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ used to patch his cloaks. And there's plenty of hadiths. I'm not going to say them. People can just look online. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best amongst you are those who patch their clocks. There's a famous hadith. So the idea that patch clock are foreign in Islam is not true. First of all, because it's halal. So for someone to say it's haram, they need to bring a dalil, evidence that wearing a patch clock is haram. While at the same time, we have evidence that the Sahaba they used to wear patch clock. The Prophet ﷺ used to wear a patch clock, not the same one as this of the Prophet ﷺ, I mean.
Yeah.
Prophet ﷺ, when he passed to the Rafiq al-A'la, he used to wear a clock with two patches on them, right? And Aisha used to show it to the Sahaba and tell them the Prophet ﷺ, he went to his Lord while wearing this patch, mulabbada, called. Mulabbada is a patch clock. In the hadith is called mulabbada. And the Prophet ﷺ, in many hadiths, he said like na'mal mulabbada, like he said like he praised the patch clock. Sayyidina Umar, now we go back to patch clock like this. Sayyidina Umar, the second Khalifa of Muslims, one of the closest friends of the Prophet ﷺ, Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, he is amongst the 10 Mubashirin bil Jannah. He's amongst the 10 who Prophet ﷺ promised heaven. He was wearing a patch clock with
When he went to Jerusalem, yes.
and had 17 pieces, made out of 17 pieces. And he, when he was invited to Jerusalem, the Quds, because remember the Muslims, the army of Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah, who was one of the 10 also Mubashirin bil Jannah, 10 promised heaven, reached Jerusalem and Quds, and they had a siege of Quds. They had a deal with the religious authority of Al-Quds. They told them, we will just give you the keys of the city if your Khalifa, if your like king, comes himself. So a messenger went to Medina, and they told Sayyidina Umar that they needed him in Quds, and he set up with his servant on a camel to Medina, to Quds. And when he arrived there, in the hadith, which is very, very, very insightful very insightful event, because when he arrived there, he was met by Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah, and Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah told him, O Commander of the Faithful, you set foot in the mud and you wear this Muraqqa, this patch clock, while those people are princes and kings who pay attention to looks. So he's basically telling him, take away your dress, your patch clock, and we'll give you a better one, so when you come in, people respect you. Sayyid Umar said, if someone else than you had said this, O Ubaidah, I would have hit his head with this whip. Look at how he reacted with the Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu, telling him to take off his patch clock, who had 17 patches and many colors. He said, verily, we were a disgraceful people and Allah honored us with Islam. So if we seek honor from other than Islam, then Allah will humiliate us. So see how he linked the patch clock and the dress of humility that we wear to Islam. Link the dress with Islam. There is a very important point here. He said, verily, we were a disgraceful people and Allah honored us with Islam. He didn't say honored us with patch clock, but he said with Islam. So patch clock is part of Islam.
And it's interesting to see nowadays people will say, oh, it doesn't matter what you wear, Allah looks at your heart. But Sayyidina Umar is saying, the way you present yourself, and Allah honored us with Islam, right? Like this is showing my piety, my reverence, my complete lack of concern for the others, what they think of me, and worldly concern, and for love for dunya. So alhamdulillah.
And look, when the Sayyidina Umar covered by mud went inside. So imagine, he was the Khalifa. He wasn't only wearing Muraqqa, he went down in the mud, was rubbing in the mud, and he went in the Jerusalem, Quds, as a true dervish faqir. Imagine the scene, like he's coming with the mud around him, looking like a dervish, really.
Yeah, and this is Khalifa of Muslims at a time when Muslims were winning.
Was like leading the armies, but he was one of the 10 Mubashirin. He didn't care what people thought about him, and he was in the suluk, he was in the path here. He was doing mujahadat al-nafs here. Whoever Allah put me in this highest position in dunya, this is a test for me. I need to keep up with my suluk. I need to keep up with the ma'rifah. This shouldn't be a veil between me and Allah Azza wa Jal. So I'm going to continue my suluk that I was put in with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm going to keep wearing my muraqqa here. I'm going to keep striving for higher knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because people here, they might say, Sayyidina Umar, didn't have the means to have good clocks and didn't have the.
Mm,
Sayyidina Umar had business. He was the Caliph of the Muslims. It's completely halal for him to have a good dress. There is nothing haram about it. And if
mhm,
anyone who claims that it's haram for like the Caliph of the Muslims to have a proper dress, then he's just lying to you. Sayyidina
mhm,
Umar could have had the best dress he wanted. And going back to what Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah told him, that means if Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah told him that, hey, wear a good dress because these people, they give importance to the look, then that means it's halal to wear a good dress for Sayyidina Umar
yeah,
because he's the Khalifa, right? So
yeah.
look at the hermeneutic here, right? Like you try to understand the tension here of what does this dress represent for the salikin, for the people in the path. So he went inside, and the cleric of Jerusalem saw him coming in this way, and they said, "By Allah, here is your companion." They already knew him, because
Mhm,
they would say later that according to our book, he who will receive the keys to the Ilya, or like Jerusalem, must have three characteristics. Firstly, he will come walking while his servant will be riding his mount. Secondly, he will come the foot covered by mud. Thirdly, let me count the number of pieces of fabrics which are sewed to your clothing. This is a hadith. This is Sahih hadith.
mhm,
And he counted the 17, and in another version 14, in another version 12. And he said, and it was the third characteristic. Then he gave to the commander of the faithful, Emir al-Mu'mineen, the keys to Jerusalem. So the question is not to wear beautiful clothing and to say, I am. See, that's what Sidi Sheikh said. Wear whatever you want, but never forget that the clerics of Jerusalem gave the keys to the city to a noble and proud man who was wearing a muraqqa, or khirqa, patch clock.
mhm,
And
mhm,
this is the really the secret, the deep meaning lies here in how you, as a Muslim, when you embody tafakkur, you embody slavery, you embody servanthood to Allah Azza wa Jal through wearing patches of clothes that take away all your social privileges when you go out
mhm,
in the street. You're given the keys to the Hadra. You're given the keys to the city of the prophets, to Al-Quds, to Hadrat Al-Quds, to the to the to, to the dwelling of the sanctity, of the most sanctuous presence. Because Quds here is a city, but in the deeper meaning, in the Ma'rifi meaning, in when we pass to the when we cross to the hidden world, it represents it represents the the luminous dwelling of the luminous city, the luminous realm in which the reality of prophethood is concealed and is found. So this is from the story of Sayyidina Umar. I think I don't need to expand more on this point. If
no,
people ask why you wearing Muraqqa, we just gonna tell them we following the Sunnah of Sayyidina Umar, and whoever follows Sayyidina Umar is following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the question of halal haram and is it part of Islam. I think we dealt with it. Also, I remind people that the khirqa, it's called the khirqa in Sufism, is for Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is common knowledge that whenever you go into a path, you start the real path, then your sheikh gives you the khirqa,
mhm,
gives you the muraqqa, the khirqa, or like the dirbala in North Africa, we call it. Imam Ghazali had one. When he left Baghdad, he was wearing a muraqqa. You, anyone could check that. He was wearing a colorful muraqqa, and he set out of Baghdad looking for ma'rifah, for the reality of knowledge, after he was the the most famous, the most prominent scholar in Baghdad, in the Nizamiya, who had khirqa. Even Ibn Taymiyyah had a khirqa, which is very interesting. Ibn Taymiyyah had a khirqa himself because he was a Qadiri. He did not understand Sufism that much because he did not have the spiritual unveiling, but nevertheless, at the end of his life, he embarked in the path of tasawwuf and got his khirqa, and even at the end of his life, he stopped mocking the Sufis. Himself he grew up in this atmosphere of Gnosticism, Ma'rifah. The Hanbalis of the past, they were big Arifin, big Gnostics. They produced some of the most finest shuyukh, Sid Abdul Qadir Jilani. Even Hallaj is a Hanbali.
Mm-hmm.
He was arguably Hanbali too. So this dress is not new in Islam. We live in a different reality. We've been formed by the social discourses, the dominant discourses that we grew up in, that do not give credit to this kind of form of knowledge, this kind of quest for haqiqa, for the truth, and for the real Azza wa Jal. But Muraqqa, as I said, and I say it again, inshallah, it's part of Islam. It's halal first, and it's part of Islam. Very important. People do not have to wear it. Again, like the Sheikh said, you don't have to wear it. It's not haram that you don't wear it as a Muslim. But like, let me finish this, is like, you should not stigmatize people, stereotype people, or like vilify people because they're wearing it.
No, alhamdulillah, I think you covered the evidences for it being within the realm of Sharia, but then also like the higher levels of haqiqa and towards marifat, that this is a dress that is very much part of the Islamic tradition, and not much part of the Islamic tradition, but foundational, right? I mean, the Sahaba are wearing it, Ahlul Bayt are wearing it, the Prophet ﷺ is wearing it, and for anyone who is more interested in the Quran and Hadith evidences, you can do the research online, but also read the book. And the Karkaria website also has many evidences there. So I guess the second question is, one of the revival aspects of Sidi Sheikh of this time is the different colors. So why is the Muraqqa of the Karkaria have so many colors?
As I have mentioned, the Muraqqa of Sayyidina Umar had many colors too. So again, there is a precedent in having colors. The firqas of the Sufis, they were different from one area to another, but they usually had many colors. And now we're looking at archives, old pictures from like South Asia, North Africa, and those like black and white photos of Sufis, and many of them now they've been like I'd say colored, colorized, and they come out like very like recognizable Karkari Muraqqa. And so there is precedence for color. It's not something new. And why the Sufis would try to look for all colors? Because there is a big emphasis on colors in the Quran, right? So when we go to the Quran, there is this idea that things have colors. Allah created the world in colors. So if you want to annihilate yourself in the real, you want to embody the universe that Allah Azza wa Jal has created out of these many colors, right? So you were the universe yourself, and you become a lamp in this universe. So you as a human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you the vicegerent in his universe. And on earth, you, when you wear this many colors uh, of patch clocks, many patch colored clocks, you kind of represent the lamp within the glass, right? Um, and in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal says, for instance, talking about the bees, there emerges from their bellies a drink varying in colors, in which there is healing for the people. Surah An-Nahl, Surah of Bees chapter verse 69, and if we read it along the side with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which he says the believer is like a bee which eats that which is good and lays that which is good. So since Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran that He created fruits in many colors, do you not see that Allah sends down rain from the sky and we produce thereby fruits of varying colors? So the one who is walking in the path trying to really embody the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal and extract from it the fruits. He's extracting these as a bee. He's going to these fruits and extracting the benefits. I mean, we're not talking about apples and stuff here, right? We're talking about like we're now like we're crossing from the visible to the invisible. In the invisible world, there is fruits that we're picking up with. The light of God, when it descends in colors, right? The Jaliyah, the Faqir would say, I saw the light of God shining like a blue light, shining all in colors like a rainbow, right? We all had those manifestations. So you kind of absorb it as a fruit and you try to become a bee, a lamp, like a bee. What does a lamp do? What does the misbah does? He takes the energy and become like an expanded, right? And now produces it. So you take like a bee those fruits and you give to the people. What do we give to the people? You give them this honey, this fruit, this honey, sorry, in many colors. So you as a bee, you as a mu'min, you're like this bee who's trying to embody the universe, become a lamp in the universe, picking up what's good from it, the fruits, and trying to produce a honey out of it. And this honey will have many colors too. So this is the idea. Maybe it doesn't make sense for many people. Again, do your istikhara, see the light of God. You will see how it can take many colors and how these colors have sciences behind them. And you will see how you, through your suluk, through your path, you can embody those descents of the light of God, those nuances in the light of God, those asma that being revealed to you through the colors of the light of God.
So that's a good point. You mentioned the Asma al-Husna. So is there a connection between the colors and the Asma?
There is a connection. So when let's try to go back to the verse. Do you not see that Allah sends down rain from the sky and produce thereby fruits of varying colors? Let's stop here. Now, the apparent meaning of the verse is pretty clear. Allah sends the rain, and from it there is like like clouds, rain, fruits, and we eat. Okay, but the Quran is not does not have only one meaning. The Quran also talking to the people who have access to different realms of existence.
Mhm.
Now, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, sends down rain from the sky. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. When we made out of rain, out of water, everything that lives. So when Allah Azza wa Jal created the universe from His light, the first thing He created is water.
Mhm.
Pretty clear. And we made out of water everything, everything that's living. So here, what's saying here, like now, there is descent of the light of God, and when it was revealed, it was like disclosed to create the universe. It passed first from the qudra, from the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, to the enactment. But before that, there was a release of the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, of the asma of Allah Azza wa Jal, through which the cosmos is created. So there is a passage here from the will, qudra, to the enactment. And the enactment is like a rain that descends and showers down this water, right? This water is like the asma. It's like those asma, and those asma will work in a way that they will descend in the isthmus and anismus, and the traces will be the cosmos.
Mhm.
So I don't know, it's maybe a bit like difficult to conceptualize, but try to imagine, like, prism, like a
Yeah,
light
like,
coming in, and a prism, and light is the light of God, the transcendent light of God. And then there is a prism here, and there is disclosure of all the aspects of the light that go like this,
in
uh,
order.
in many directions. And after
I,
that, and there is like a mirror, and that mirror, there is some kind of interaction through which, like, water is created and the cosmos come to being.
Mhm. No,
And
I think everyone is familiar with this, this science experiment where they discover that white light or just any light is at once contains all the colors, but they cannot be seen until it passes through some kind of barrier or some intermediary,
yeah,
or some way, something that kind of
yeah,
allows that undelimited light to show all of its
sure.
qualities. But
and
even
and
then,
and that
um,
light, that undelimited light, is the light of the name of the ism Allah. But when it descends in the first heaven, السماء الأولى, in the heaven, sorry, in the السماء الأولى, was disclosed in the السماء الأولى, disclosed all the farq, all the names,
mhm.
all the names were disclosed.
And each one is
Since
specific
Allah
to a
is light, and Allah is the lights of heaven and earth, the faqir, when he has access to the hidden, to the reality of things, he's gonna be apprehending this light. And this light, when it descends, it takes colors.
Mhm.
It's similar to the colors we see, like in this universe, and those colors are ayat, are like proofs
Signs.
to you. And when you go to the hidden, they're still similar. It's the similar colors, but that light is not the same light as you see here around you. It's not the same source. The light you see in here is a light. Uh, it's a light. It's like a hadth. I don't know how to say it.
Like
Occurrence,
a constrained, finite.
constrained physical light. while the other light is a transcendent light. The beginning of the manifestation is that manifests itself through the colors that you know, and after that, as you go further, you're gonna get deeper into its reality. But in the beginning, it takes colors and manifests to yourself as if you were seeing any light, but you're not looking at it with your eyes, physical eyes, but you're looking at it with the development of faculty of sight in your heart. There's a faculty of sight that your heart has. Your heart, I'm not talking about the heart that's beating, but like your reality, your inner self, your true spiritual self has a faculty of sight. And this faculty of sight, if you meet a sheikh that we've talked last week, who is able to move you from the darknesses into the light, because he's manifesting the name of al-wali, then you can apprehend your faculty of sight and start now having like visual experience, like not visual experience like through sight, but like inner visual experiences. And those, when you see in the light, when you see in the light, that means when you see, for instance, like a light, the color, it takes a color, because the most common color, like the color that envelops everything, is white. In the mushahada, in the vision, that's white. White is al-awwalu and the zahir, those two names, but those two names, they really like telling you, taking you into the they're really like reflecting the name Allah. But if you see like red, if you see blue, if you see green, then you either a name that's being disclosed to you. So now you are kind of the sciences and the realities from this name are flowing into you through this light, or that your spiritual state is being manifested to you. So the light might be either a sign for like your spiritual state at that moment of the vision experience, or apprehension of the name of Allah Azza wa Jal. And through the path and through suhbah, companionship of the Shaykh, and maybe asking questions and stuff like that, you might understand what you were what's being disclosed to you at that moment.
Okay, alhamdulillah. I think that's a comprehensive discussion of the different colors, both from a Sharia perspective and also the marifat, as the disciple seeks to, envelope himself and annihilate himself in the cosmos of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also in the attributes, sifat, and the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as they work to rid themselves of their nafs and cover themselves and dress themselves, beautify themselves, adorn themselves in the Asma'ul Husna of Allah subhanahu wa
ta'ala. People can refer to the niche of light, Mishkat al-Anwar, the niche of lights of Imam al-Ghazali. He has a more extensive discussion there on the light of God and the reality of the cosmos and how it's like light, and the disclosure of the light of God and what it might represent. It's very, very technical. I think it's better, and people probably they will not understand what he's saying because they haven't developed the faculty of sight, inner sight. But it's still useful to go back there to see that our discourse is not a foreign discourse to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's a discourse that is pretty much within the lines of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and of Sufism. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what is the next thing we've discussed? Sunnah, Sharia, Muraqqa, foundation of the path, like the more hakiki perspectives. What else?
Practically. Now you ask me practically during your days and stuff. How do you feel about it? And And how do you feel like?
Oh, so let's
Does
start.
it feel like, those kind of questions that some people might be
Yeah,
interested in.
let's start with how do you get one at the Zawiya? Like, because it's important. I think that see the Sheikh like praise on it, and then I want to ask you. So do you wear it to school? Do you wear it outside? What is the general reaction of people? And yeah, okay. Um, so Sidi Marwan, I want to ask because this is a question that people often ask. The ones who are more interested, where can I get one? Did you make it yourself? Um, so I guess I want to ask, what is the process of getting a muraqqa? Does Sidi Sheikh, tell everyone to wear it immediately in the beginning of their path? And do you personally, do you wear it to school? Do you wear it to work? What was your family's reaction when you first wore it? And what is the general reaction of the community where you're in? I think you're in the United States right now. What is the reaction of the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community of you wearing it? So you can begin with how did you first obtain it? Where did it come from? Did you make your own? Questions like this.
So basically, obviously, people can make their own patch clocks. It's fine. I mean, even if they're outside the tariqah, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
can make your own and wear it. Uh, you know, some Christians, they refer back to the tradition of Prophet Joseph. He had a patch clock, colorful clocks. It's very interesting that Christians nowadays are more aware of the patch clock than the Muslims, but that's another discussion.
Alhamdulillah, one time I was in.
And for our Christian brothers and sisters, and Jewish brothers and sisters, this may be a sign for you guys that the haqiqah, the reality of what Prophet Jesus or Prophet Moses brought has moved to Islam in is being found in Sufism. But that's
Mhm.
another discussion, inshallah. Um, so I went to the Zawiya. I was already part of the Tariqah. I wanted to have one. So you can either sew your own if you can. That's much better. You do it yourself. If you're not able to, like myself, because I don't know how to do that, and I'm very lazy to to learn. So there is a brother at the Zawiya who can make it for you for like $40, nothing, and he does it with his hands while having his wudu and doing salat ala nabi alayhi salatu salam and dhikr in the same time. And whenever you get it, you give it to Sidi Sheikh to bless it for you. He prays salat over it and make dua for you and gives it to you. And then after that, you can wear it. Uh, it's it's an awesome experience to wear something that Sidi Sheikh has prayed over, at least for us in the tariqah. It makes it very dear to our heart. After that, you're not obliged to wear it, obviously. Uh, you're not wearing it, Sidi Mubin, right now, as I see.
Mhm.
You don't have to wear it all the time. It depends really from one person to another. It's a really good tool to work on your ego. When you go out in the street and in society and you're wearing something like this, it automatically takes away all your social privileges, your lineage, your money, your uh, your social privileges. Mean like the hadith of Prophet ﷺ is money. Like you're not being seen as someone who's rich. Lineage, people would look at you as this is someone who's not coming from a good family. uh, Beauty, I mean, beauty is relative, but like people appreciate, they frame to see other things as being beautiful. And knowledge, people think that you're just crazy. So all of those social privileges that you might be associated with when you go out wearing the muraqqa, they kind of been they're taken away from you, right? So in the beginning, it's for some it's very difficult to go out wearing it. They're shy, you're shy, you kind of it's like a step beyond, like for you in the beginning is beyond imagination. I used to wear those like really nice clothes. Now I just need to go out wearing like this. What would people think about me? What and there you realize that you're just a hypocrite because you care too much about what people think about you. You're wearing something halal. You're wearing something that Sayyidina Umar used to wear, but at the same time you're ashamed of it. Then you realize that you're hypocrite. And then you realize you're not a wali. Then you realize that there is a long way to go before like reaching ma'rifah. That it humbles you. And but like the more you work on it, it's a very efficient tool in these times to really work on your character, on humbleness, on your egoism. As we grow up, and you might realize this as you get to grow up, your ego becomes stronger and stronger. You you start to conform to social norms gradually. You start to actually not conform, but start worshiping social norms. So you get away from Allah Azza wa Jal, you start worshiping your position within the community. You start worshiping your image, how I should be seen within the community. So you kind of start worshiping more the community than Allah Azza wa Jal. But what the Muraqqa does is a brutal, not very brutal, it's like a very nice way, but like for some in the beginning, it's brutal for the ego to go out and signal to the world, now I am in the path. I am working on my ego. I am nothing. I'm I'm a humble. I'm trying to humble myself. Uh, it's a for some it's a very difficult experience, but for me, I can speak of myself. When I was in Morocco, I didn't have that problem that much unless I'm going from one city to another. You know, sometimes the shaitan and the nafs will come and they will tell you, you know, better wear something nicer. You know, there is people there that might see you. You might get into a confrontation with someone. You just like you want to hide a little bit so that you pass in the society as and no one. But it was fine in Morocco, I think. In Tunisia, it was much more difficult because you're within your people. I'm not gonna go into the differences between the two states in in terms of religious freedoms. That's not the discussion of today, but you might imagine what I mean here. And but in Tunisia, it was a bit more difficult because the tariqa is not well established. So that's a higher, more difficult exam. Even with the family, my family is all Karkari, alhamdulillah. My parents, my brothers and sisters, they all part of the path. So I don't have a problem with the immediate family. With some of my uncles, I had few issues. They didn't get what I was doing, and they were like, "You're a Harvard student, you were a Columbia student, you have a commercial pilot license. What are you doing all this to yourself? You should be looking handsome with people, and you should be wearing something different." And they just don't get the point of suluk and tasawwuf and ma'rifah and light of God yet. They kind of understand. They start to understand it right now and start to see it, see the benefits of tasawwuf. As for the US, I think it's much more easier to wear it. But when you're in a platform in Harvard, where like ego is it's a very egocentric community in which that you've been taught at all times to actually increase your ego and remind people and yourself of how big is your ego, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same Columbia University and Harvard. There's not much difference. I think it's difficult in that sense that within this community where everyone is showing their ego, you kind of go in the opposite way, right? And
Mm.
and and uh, and you kind of uh, the work on the ego is different because here you're not being taken seriously, right? And your ego wants to be taken seriously because you want to show that you know things. But it's a good exercise because it keeps you humble, keeps you, like every day you wake up, you want to wear something different. I'm I'm not gonna lie. I like to wear nice clothes. I feel that my muraqqa is very beautiful. But too, I want to go out and show off people that I have good clothes and I have nice body and and whatever.
Yeah.
But I just go with the muraqqa because I feel I'm not in a stage where I can wear whatever I want because my ego is still very big and I still want to know Allah Azza wa Jal. And without working on my character, on my ego, try to uh, decrease it as much as I can, I'm not going to be able to go further than where I am right now.
Mhm.
So that's it. As for your question, does the disciple has to wear it? As I say, the disciple does not have to wear it. It's a
Mm.
term of personal choice. But as I've explained the last week, this path and this week too has foundations. And if you want to progress in the path, you want to get further in the path, you need to work on your character. You need to work on diminishing your ego, and there is foundations for this. You need to work on like the dirbala muraqa. So if you don't want to work on your if you don't want to do the practices, you don't want to do the sharia, you don't want to do the apparent part of the path, then it's very difficult for you to aspire for something that's uh, for the reality part, the haqiqa part, the ma'rifa part. It's gonna be very difficult for you. Some people they just like are born with a zero ego, and these people, for them, probably it's much easier. But for me, and I think for most people who are living in the West or like in North African countries, we just have big egos and we just like very norm oriented and conformist, especially as we grow up. So the Muraqqa does a great job at taking you away from the conformism part and the worshipping of the norms to worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal.
Alhamdulillah, thank you for your sharing your experience. And I think now that this because of the Western influence throughout the world, practices that strengthen the ego, feed the ego are commonplace globally. And this is definitely a jarring experience for the nafs to wear this. Me personally, from being from New York, you know, there is a sense of, especially in New York City, to be weird, right? To be extra, to be much. So it's a little easier to wear it in the streets of New York. But even then, if people ask you about it, you start talking about higher religious realities and Islam, people take it the wrong way. Even I remember I went to a masjid, and even my fellow Muslim brothers and were having a difficult time. But I think people, more than your actions, they see your character, and because the Muraqqa Darbala works on this, they notice that he is more humble, he's more quiet, he's more he's always doing dhikr. When he wears this, he is constantly struggling with himself and his nafs. And if not so much as for yourself, it does serve as a really good mirror for other people, right? The moment is the mirror of the moment, as the hadith goes. So I think it's a very effective tool. um,
I want to add something. There is no disciple who was hurt since the Muraqqa came in 2011, there is no one who's been hurt because they were in a Muraqqa, which is a
Mhm.
miracle. No one got hurt, and no one got has been denied from their jobs, or like been fired, or like denied like school to go to school or anything. So the idea that the fear that you're gonna or I gonna or like that the nafs gives you that you're gonna lose your job, get hurt by society, like physically, I mean, not verbally, but like being
Mhm.
oppressed is just a lie from the shaitan and from yourself, your nafs. When I started wearing the dirbala, people said, you're getting crazy, you're losing it. I got
Yeah.
accepted in Harvard. I think I'm doing fine in the school. Before that, I got my bachelor at Columbia University. And things are getting better and better, mashallah, alhamdulillah. I don't feel bad. I don't feel uh, that I'm losing it much. I mean, alhamdulillah, Allah has been giving me, alhamdulillah, more than what I expected. So there is that fear of the nafs and the waswasa, those whispering of the nafs and shaitan that tells you, go in the tariqah, but don't wear it only in the zawiya when you go to Morocco because, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna, people's gonna hurt you. You're gonna be stigmatized. You're gonna you lose your family. You're gonna lose your friends. You're gonna
Mhm.
be ostracized in your community. First of all, if people reject you after your friends reject you after you wear something that's halal and be part of a tariqah that's following the sunnah of Prophet ﷺ and within the official discourse of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, classical discourse of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then these people were not your friends, really. They were just like after your social privileges. That's why they were your friends.
Mhm.
So better the Muraqqa served you here because it showed you the reality of those who were around you. As for like your your social privileges, you need to remember that Allah is the one who gives rizq. Allah is the one who has everything. He's the only agent in the cosmos. So whatever has been decreed for you is gonna come to you, and whatever has been decreed to not be given to you, then it's not gonna be given to you, and you're not gonna get it. So there is this idea of tawakkul too in the muraqqa. It teaches you how to have tawakkul. People now talk about tawakkul and how it's they have tawakkul and they had faith on Allah Azza wa Jal and and just like it doesn't make sense nowadays. I see people talking about this because you see the person, like I've mentioned before in one of my posts, not here, that you see the person doing like becoming borderline paranoid, right? Seeking dunya, fear of dunya, but then when the things that they were looking for, they get the things that they were looking for, or like they preserve their social position or whatever, you see them saying, ah, alhamdulillah, I had faith in Allah Azza wa Jal, I had tawakkul on Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah, I mean, it depends how you define tawakkul. If you define tawakkul by just like being borderline paranoid of losing
Yeah.
dunya, then everyone, even the kafir, has tawakkul, right? Even the non-Muslim has true tawakkul because, mashallah, I've seen Christians, they have so much faith in God, so that they really like have faith. They have more faith than you, who was being borderline paranoid about losing your social privileges. So the idea here is that, uh, Dirbala Muraqqa is very important for someone who wants to know himself. If you wear the Muraqqa and then you decide to take it off and you're ashamed of it, you don't want to show it to people, then maybe here there is a problem with your nafs, with your ego. There is a dark spot there that you need to work on. You're more afraid of the people than Allah Azza wa Jal. You don't have tawakkul. You don't have faith that Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who's going to be providing you. And that even if the whole universe wanted to deny whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has decreed for you, then they won't be able to do it. And if all of the universe has decided and worked hard to give you something that Allah Azza wa Jal has decided that's not gonna be given to you, then you're not gonna have it. So Muraqqa helps you realize this hadith of Prophet ﷺ, whom the hadith that he said to Ibn Abbas when he was radiallahu anhuma, Sayyidina Ibn Abbas when he was a child, 12 years old, I think. So Sayyidina Ibn Abbas had tawakkul since he was 12 years old. But for us, I mean, again, we see people like claiming tawakkul, 50 years old, 60 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. They have not much left in their lives, but they're so afraid of losing dunya that it just turns into pseudo paranoia. Anyway, yeah, that's one of the aspects that the Muraqqa al-Bala helps you work on.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for that. Okay, so did we answer all the questions in that part? I think your experience, how you get it.
Yeah, I still have one question, but I need to do my word, right? So I still have 3 hours for the adhan, and I want to do some qiyam too. So I can have one more question if you want.
What is left? I asked. How to get it, experience wearing it. It's not necessary. Suluk, Quran Hadith, colors. Anything? I don't.
Maybe you can have a recap. You do a recap of what we said, and we finish, and we make a dua or something, and we finish. Or I don't think there is anything left to say here.
Okay. I'm trying to think. We mentioned so many things. Okay, khair. Okay. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair, Sidi Marwan, for sharing your experience with Muraqqa. So just to recap, we've discussed initially the Quranic and the Hadith foundations for the type of dress, patched cloak, which the Sahaba wore, the Prophet ﷺ wore, the prophets of the past, Prophet Adam alayhi salam, Prophet Joseph, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. From that time to the meaning, the deeper meanings of the multiple colors, and the role of the Muraqqa as a foundational path, as a foundation of the path of the Mujaddid of this century, Sidi Sheikh Muhammad Fawzi Al-Qarqari Qaddasallahu Sirra, and especially the kind of what wearing it symbolizes for the disciple, as not only covering himself in the Asma'ul Husna of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a true abd, as a true lamp, not only for the light of God, but also for others, in calling them back to the true teachings of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, to calling them back to Allah. And then finally, some of the rulings for disciples, whether they have to wear it all the time or not, and especially the kind of experience that you have and the role of the Muraqqa in your own life, but also the life of many disciples, that they experience it as a as an article of clothing that serves to show the reality of not only their own nafs, but also of the people around them, revealing people's insecurities, people's fears, but also your own hypocrisy. So Jazakallah khair. If you have anything else to add, feel free. But if not, I think we can end inshallah with a dua for these last 10 days for the whole Muslim Ummah and for any of those Muslims who are sincerely seeking some way to their Lord, some way to know themselves, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as always, the recommended advice is to pray istikhara. If you have questions about anything that we're asking, it all becomes easier when you experience it for yourself. So, wearing anything becomes easier when you have full confidence and complete certainty about what you're doing. So, as much as our explanations are, experiential knowledge is the only way for those who are curious and sincere to actually experience these realities. So, inshallah, Sidi Marwan, if you have anything to add, you can. If not, please lead us in a dua and we can end today's video.
Just one funny anecdote. I was with a brother today speaking about like the Sufism and haqiqa and that we're not just a body and that we have a soul and that we can apprehend high realms of knowledge. He was in denial the whole time, but like I tried to explain to him everything through the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But at the end, he said, everything that you say, okay, even if it's the classical discourse of Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and of Sufism and everything, I feel better staying in the safe side and not engaging with this kind of knowledge. And I told him, you can't do that, but you're missing the ma'rifah. You're missing big khair that the Prophet ﷺ has brought you. The Prophet ﷺ did not just bring you rulings. He brought you something very, 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 very valuable that you're going to be missing. And if you want to miss it, if you want to live your life scared and be sitting in the back and be safe, then in the day of judgment, do not blame Allah Azza wa Jal for not having given you the ma'rifah that those people who are crossing, when you see the people crossing the sirat, their faces like a moon and their faces like a bright star in a blink of an eye, then do not blame Allah Azza wa Jal for not having given you this light that was available to you during dunya and the kind of ma'rifah that comes with it, kind of true embodied knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal that comes with it. So yeah, like you said, do your istikhara. If you want to know more about this, just do prayer of consultation. If you're a Christian or a Jew, you're following us, go back to God, ask God before you sleep. I know that we all do this, and sincerely ask God and ask them, is Islam right? Is Sufism right? Are these people, they seem to bring something tangible and true about you, God. Are they true? Are they real? And God Most High will give you an answer. And hopefully do it for 7 days, for a month, and you will get your answer from God, inshallah. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa salatu wassalam ala ashrafil mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. يا حنان يا منان يا ذا الجود والإكرام يا ذا الطول والإنعام يا مجيب السائلين يا غياث المستغيثين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك الواسعة شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من وليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت الحمد لك على ما قضيت الشكر لك على ما أعطيت نستغفرك اللهم من كل الذنوب والخطايا ونتوب إليك اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك، ومن طاعتك ما تنوب علينا بها من نورك وجنتك يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا خيرا من خيرات الدنيا والآخرة إلا وكتبته لنا في لوحك المحفوظ يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم حررنا من ظلمات أنفسنا إلى نور ذاتك يا أرحم الراحمين، واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين، وفننا في حضرتك وحضرة المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام. ورضي عنا مولانا الشيخ سيدي محمد فوز الكركري قدس الله سره، واجعلنا دائما في طاعته وطاعة آل بيت المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام. اللهم ارحمنا برحمتك الواسعة التي وسعت كل شيء، ولا تحرمنا من أنوار ذاتك يا رب العالمين. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار، وتوفنا مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار. اللهم ارزقنا الجنة ما قرب إليها من قول وعمل، وبعد علينا النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا، وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا، وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا، وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم ارزقنا حسن السير وحسن الخاتمة. اللهم ارزقنا حسن السير وحسن الخاتمة. اللهم ارزقنا حسن السير وحسن الخاتمة، واجمعنا مع الحبيب المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام في الدنيا قبل الآخرة، إنك على كل شيء قدير وبالإجابة جدير يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. بجاه اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد، كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد، كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، الحمد لله رب العالمين. ويغفر الله عبدا قال آمين.